There is one decision about your superannuation that takes approximately 4 minutes to make. Most Australians never make it. Not because it is complicated, not because it requires a financial advisor, because the system they are in was specifically designed so they do not have to think about it. And that design has a price. At 30, the cost of not making this decision, measured at retirement, starts at $180,000. Not from a bad investment, not from choosing the wrong fund, from leaving a single drop-down menu on your super funds app exactly where it was when your employer set up your account at 22. This video names the decision, shows you the exact numbers behind it, and walks you through the 4-minute process that most Australians on an ordinary income will never be told to do. When your money goes into a super fund, the fund does not hold it as cash, it invests it, and the way it invests it depends on which investment option your account is set to. Every major Australian super fund offers a menu of options. At one end, cash or capital stable, almost no exposure to share market movements, very low returns, very low short-term movement. At the other end, high growth or aggressive growth, heavy exposure to Australian and international shares, higher long-term returns, more short-term movement. In the middle sits balanced, roughly 60 to 76% growth assets, shares, property, infrastructure. The remaining 24 to 40% in defensive assets, bonds, fixed interest, cash, a mix of growth and stability. When your employer enrolled you in a super fund, they did not choose your investment option. The fund chose it for you. In almost every case, that default is balanced. That default is where most Australians stay, not for 1 year, not for 5, for their entire working life. The balanced option is not a bad investment. For a 55-year-old with 10 years until retirement, it is arguably the right call. The defensive allocation manages volatility in the final decade when there is not enough time to fully recover from a significant market fall. But let's run the numbers. Australian Super's balanced option, one of Australia's top-performing funds, has delivered an average annual return of 8.17% over the 10 years to March 2026. That is a genuinely strong result. Now look at the high-growth option. Aware Super's high-growth option delivered 9.22% per year over the same 10-year period. Chant West's data shows the median growth fund is on track to post approximately 9% for the financial year to June 2026, the fourth consecutive year of 9% or better. And in the 33 years since compulsory super began in Australia, growth-oriented options have produced only 5 negative calendar years, 5 in 33. The gap between balanced and high growth, approximately 1% per year on a 10-year average. 1%. Over 1 year, that is almost invisible. Over 35 years of compounding, it is anything but. Here is what this channel will say that most financial content will not. The word balanced is not a financial description. It is a marketing decision. Super funds call their default option balanced because that name appeals to the widest possible membership base. It sounds responsible. It sounds measured. It sounds like the kind of sensible conservatism a reasonable adult would choose for their retirement savings. But what balanced actually means is this: 24 to 40% of your super is sitting in defensive assets, bonds, fixed interest, cash. Those assets exist to reduce short-term volatility. They generate lower returns every year in exchange for smoother account balance movements quarter to quarter. At 30, you have 35 years until you can access this money. Every major market correction in Australian history has fully recovered: the 1987 crash, the dot-com collapse, the GFC, COVID. Every one of them, not once in the history of compulsory superannuation, has a patient, long-term investor in a growth-oriented option failed to come out ahead of a balanced investor over a 35-year horizon. That defensive allocation in your balanced option is managing a risk you do not need to manage. You are paying for protection from short-term volatility with a long-term return penalty, and the reason you are paying it is because the fund named the option so that you would feel comfortable staying in it regardless of your age. The option was not designed for a 30-year-old. It was designed for the average age of the entire fund membership, and that average age is not 30. There is a reason this decision never gets made. The Australian super system is built on automatic enrolment and default investment options. That design is smart. It ensures Australians save something for retirement even when they are not paying attention. It removes friction from the act of contributing. It was one of the most effective retirement policy decisions this country has made. But the side effect is default permanence bias. The investment option your super fund set you to at 22 in your first job in a fund your employer chose at a default selected by that fund's trustees for the average member is still the option most Australians are in at 30, 40 and 50, not because they reviewed it and decided to stay, because the system never told them to check. Your fund will email you about new features. It will send your annual statement. It will remind you to nominate a beneficiary. It will not send you a message that says, "You have been in a balanced option since 2016. You are now 30. This option was not optimized for your age. Would you like to review it?" That message will never arrive, because changing your investment option costs the fund nothing, but the inertia of the default costs you. And the cost, compounded over 35 years, is not a rounding error. Here is the calculation. Starting super balance at 30, $26,000. That is the APRA median for Australians in the 30 to 34 age bracket. Salary, $80,000. Super guarantee at 12%, $9,600 per year, going in automatically. Time horizon, 35 years to 65. Scenario A, you stay in the balanced option. Average annual net return, 7.5%, a conservative figure that sits below the 10-year Australian super balanced result of 8.17% to March 2026. At 7.5% for 35 years, starting from $26,000 with $9,600 per year added, your super balance at 65 reaches approximately $1,550,000. Scenario B, you switch to a high growth option this week. Average annual net return 8.5%, again conservative, sitting below the Aware Super High Growth 10-year result of 9.22%. At 8.5% for 35 years, from the same starting point with the same contributions, your balance at 65 reaches approximately $1,950,000. The difference, approximately $400,000. The $180,000 headline in the title of this video is the conservative floor, based on a smaller salary, a smaller starting balance, and a return differential of just 0.5%. The realistic difference, at 1% per year over 35 years, is approximately $400,000. That number is not a projection error. It is the mathematical outcome of compound interest operating over a long enough period. The $180,000 headline was chosen because the realistic number sounds too large to believe. This channel will not let the honest figure go unsaid. 3 steps, starting today. Step 1. Log into your super funds app or website. If you do not have the app, download it now. Every major Australian fund, Australian Super, Australian Retirement Trust, Aware Super, Host Plus, Rest, has a mobile app with investment option switching available in under 2 minutes. Step 2. Find investment options or change investment option in the menu. Every fund's layout is slightly different, but this section exists in all of them. You are looking for the option with the highest allocation to growth assets. It will be labeled high growth, growth, or aggressive growth, depending on the fund. If you are 30 and you do not plan to access this money before 60, that option is the starting point for a review. Step 3. Select it, confirm it, log out. That is the inaction decision. 4 minutes, done once. The compounding runs for 35 years without you doing anything else. One honest caveat this video will not skip. This is appropriate for a 30-year-old with a 35-year horizon who does not need to access this money early and who has stable employment income to weather periods when their super balance moves. If your situation is more complex, a medical condition, approaching early retirement, a dependent with specific needs, a financial advisor is the right call before making this change. The switch is simple. The suitability assessment for your specific circumstances is a professional conversation. But for a 30-year-old in stable employment on an ordinary Australian income, the default balanced option was a decision that was made for you without your input. This is how you make it yourself. One step this week. Open your Super Funds app. Find your current investment option, write it down. Then look at what the high growth option in your fund has returned over 10 years. Compare the two numbers. Then ask whether the defensive allocation, protecting you from short-term volatility, is worth the long-term return you are giving up to have it. Most Australians who do this exercise switch. Most of them wish they had done it earlier. That is the super truth for the 80K earner at 30. Subscribe for the Super Truth series because this is the first of 4 videos going deep into what Australian super statements do not show you. In the next video, we are going to compare your super fund against the top performer and unearth 10-year numbers